You're very welcome along to the Matchbook Football Podcast, looking ahead to the Premier League. Now, given we have a lot of the stuff sort of nailed in the Premier League at the moment, we'll still cover 3 Premier League games in our marquee section, but Mark has thrown in a very interesting Rome derby, that is, in Serie A this weekend. So in the main slate, we're sort of bigging up a few of the different leagues between now and the end of the season. Adrian will throw in a few EFL games between now and the end of the season, depending on how the fixtures fall. But the 3 Premier League games we're going to cover: Newcastle, Manchester United, City, Palace, and Wolves versus Spurs. Before we get going, quick reminder of our welcome offer. See a lot of people joining over the last few weeks. It's Pod50, the best offer we've had so far. Enter the bonus code Pod50. You get £50 worth in free bets when you bet 50. The full T's and C's are on your screen now if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, check it out on YouTube or check out matchbook.com. But don't forget, if you are coming from the podcast, to enter the bonus code Pod50, insights.matchbook.com. Full recap of the guys' picks. We still have 2 games left in the Champions League. If you're listening to this when we record on Wednesday, and don't forget to hit that like button and follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Now let's start. Decent game, to be fair, in the Sunday slot. Manchester United again, but this time they travel away to Newcastle United. We are recording this before the Europa League action on Thursday. We look at the betting we currently have on matchbook.com. Newcastle are 173 with United 5.1. The draw is 4.2. Both teams to score. We'll get that prices for that in just a second. Manchester United get a 3/4 goal head start at around 186, and the total for this game currently stands at 2.5. Mark, we'll start with you, because it's with Manchester United, obviously their priority this season, or at least for the rest of the season, will be on the Europa League. How do you balance that as a bettor in terms of when the market moves too much that maybe Manchester United become a bet and vice versa?
Yeah, it's tricky. Definitely is difficult, and you're absolutely right. Manchester United will be prioritising the Europa League right now, and I'm quite keen to oppose them because of that, but for a number of other reasons too. Firstly, kind of big credit, I think, to Newcastle, because I think there's a fair suggestion that they could or would suffer a Carabao Cup hangover. We saw all the celebrations, the significance of that cup win. Wouldn't have been a major surprise if they sort of stalled their progress or kind of that hampered their chances of finishing inside the top 5, which we now know is definitely going to be a Champions League position. But so far it's not. Beat Brentford, then strolled past Leicester on Monday night. 11 wins now in the last 15 Premier League games since mid-December. Only Liverpool have earned more points than Newcastle in that sequence. And Jacob Murphy just continues to provide remarkable numbers, 14 goal involvements since the start of December in the Premier League. But now they get the opportunity to play a United side who are going to be prioritising Europe over the next 10 days. It's a late afternoon kickoff too, so you expect St James's Park to be pretty rowdy. They've had a taste of the Champions League last season. They definitely want it again next time around. So I'm expecting Newcastle to be right at it from the off, actually, and try and attack Manchester United here. United, Ruben Amorim keeps telling us he's seeing signs of progress. You do have to look quite hard to see that, I think, from my position. I found it quite difficult to see. There are a couple of glimmers, but their matches have been so unbelievably bad to watch. It's difficult and almost unwatchable at times, like the derby last weekend. But that's the 8th occasion now they failed to score under Amorim. They did engineer some promising moments, but the decision-making in key moments was pretty awful. And if you look at the Premier League, they're down in 17th on expected points over the last 8 games. They're 16th on that same metric over the last 12 and 16 game samples, with their XG process in attack amongst the worst in the division. So they've actually won the XG battle twice in 14 league games now, away at Forest, at home to Southampton, which is pretty pathetic in all honesty. So now they're meeting a highly motivated, informed side in the middle of sort of 2 defining matches of their own. So I think it's a good spot to oppose United, in my opinion. I've said a few times this season that Newcastle have looked a little bit too short in certain fixtures. I've opposed them to reasonable success, but I think they could easily be shorter than the current 173 on the nose, which I think is absolutely fine to win this game. United have scored 6 away goals in 8 trips to the teams in the top 11 this season. In fact, if you strip out the 6 goals they've scored at Leicester and Southampton, 2 of the worst teams in the division, not just this season, but probably beyond that, actually. United have managed just 10 away goals in 13 games this season, averaging 1.05 non-penalty expected goals. They're offering very little in forward areas. So rather than just take that odds-on price, we can bolster it to 2.10 by including under 4.5 goals. Just 2 United matches have beaten that 4.5 goals line this season. And if you look at Newcastle's record, they've won 12 of 15 games against teams in 12th and below. That's home or away. All 12 of those wins have come alongside under 4.5 goals. I think it's got a decent shout of occurring again. So that's 2.1 Newcastle to win and under 4.5. And if you want a bigger price, I wouldn't put anyone off backing the win and BTTS no, which is trading around 3.2. I think that's got a decent chance too.
Okay, Mark really against Manchester United in this spot here. Adrian, you're leaning towards that angle as well?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I have to because of the focus on Europe. It's clear that Manchester United will prioritise that, and this game will kind of get in the way. Amorim, I suspect, will go very defensive. Whenever he's come up against a superior team this season, he's sort of apologised for it, but said this is the way it's got to be. You know, he's been very, very cautious. Those numbers that you read out, or that Mark read out, tell a story, really, don't they, of a team that aren't confident, that aren't creating a great deal on the road or against the best teams. All 15 of Manchester United's away games have gone under 4.5 this season. 7 of Newcastle's last 8 games have gone under 4.5 in the Premier League as well. So I too want to oppose goals under 4.5. I'm going to go a bit safer, Newcastle double chance, purely on the basis that you know, I do think that Manchester United are improving. I think that Bruno's in brilliant form. I think that there are signs of life within the team. He just hasn't quite got the balance right yet. But I see a little bit of progress, and they could stink the place out and nick a 0-0 or a 1-1 in this game. So I just want to protect against that. So Newcastle double chance under 4.5. And then I want to pair it on the bet builder with under 11.5 corners, which is pretty high. You could try lower if you wanted to extend the price. Newcastle games average 10.9 corners. That's very much on the high side. Man United games average 9.18, which is, you know, sort of middling. There are only 5 corners at Old Trafford when these two sides last met. If you cast your mind back, Newcastle just destroyed them in the first half. It was one of the most one-sided half an hours of football I've ever seen. And then they just sat on it and killed the game, and it was fairly dead after that. So you know, I can potentially see something similar happening here, where United kind of just save face, go behind, save face, and accept the medicine and move on. So yeah, 6 of the last 7 meetings between these two sides have also gone under 3.5. So it's not been a high scoring fixture in recent times. Yeah, but my pick, Newcastle double chance, under 4.5 and under 11.5 corners. That comes in at 2.3.
Okay, comprehensive start, I would say, pro Newcastle angle there. It is going to be our £10 money back podcast bet builder. Money back is a free bet up to £10 if you back this exact bet on Matchbook and it doesn't win. You will get this into your account as a £10 free bet, up to a £10 free bet on Monday morning. We're going to combine the two guys' selection. So this is Newcastle win under 4.5 goals and under 11.5 corners. So read that out again. Newcastle win under 4.5 goals, under 11.5 corners. Check out insights.matchbook.com for a full recap of the bet and T's and C's as well. Let's go to the early kickoff on Saturday. Manchester City versus Crystal Palace. And let's take a look at the betting we currently have on matchbook.com. You can back Manchester City 154, Palace 6.6 with the draw currently 4.9. Both teams to score yes around the 175 mark, the Asian handicap line. You can get Palace a +1 goal head start at 2.08. More of that in a second, with the goal line 2.5, with the overs favored there though at 162. So yeah, Adrian, another team to try and get a perspective on where they are at the moment, Manchester City. And what have you made in them the last few games? And in terms of an early kickoff at home to Palace, it does strike me as a bit of a potential upset chance here.
Oh, they're not in great form, are they? They're really poor, I thought, against Manchester United. I mean, it was just a bad game. Full stop. Mark nailed it with his assessment on the last weekend podcast. Yeah, just poor fare, really. But it is a big game for them. You know, they're looking to get top 5. We know it is top 5 now. Thanks to Arsenal. Let's give them a mention. Oh, what a night that was. So it's going to be top 5, and they need the points. But this isn't going to be an easy game. Absolutely no chance. Palace have only lost 3 of 14 matches away from home all season. They'll travel with confidence. They've scored in 12 of 14 away games, and they've not actually lost on the road since October the 21st, which is a long time ago. So Palace will go to the Etihad thinking they can get something out of the game. I kind of want to steer clear of the match outcome because I just don't know. With City, yeah, this is the sort of game they would normally roll the opponent over and win, and they're still capable of it. So I'm always a little bit nervous of opposing Manchester City, particularly at home. They have only blanked twice at the Etihad this season against Spurs and Liverpool. They've scored 32 home goals, Manchester City. It's a joint second highest behind Spurs. So that's why, even though I fancy a Palace upset, I can't quite get there. So I'm going to go to my old favourite, actually. I'm going to go for both teams to score and under 4.5. You saw it earlier, both teams to score, I think it's 175 you read out. If you pair it with under 5 goals, it jumps to 2.4, which I think is very appealing because I don't see 5 goals or more in the game. You know, Palace have been really solid. Really solid. Lot of clean sheets lately. Lots of clean sheet wins actually on the road. Don't think they'll get a clean sheet in this one because it's City away, but they can certainly frustrate them. And then you look at the other end, they're tailor-made, aren't they, to potentially cause Manchester City problems, create chances through Eze, Mateta, Sarr, etc. So, yeah, I like this. All 14 away games for the Eagles this season have gone under 4.5 goals. If you need a bit of confidence, 60% of City's home games have seen both teams score, and Palace have scored in 12 or 14 away, as I said earlier. So, yeah, I like this. Both teams scoring under 4.5. It's a good old classic, but I think it's quite a nice price, really, at 2.4.
Okay, bit of a jump, as Adrian said. If you don't see the game being complete chaos and going over 5 goals, Mark, betting question here. So maybe, and you'll have the numbers to back this up, or at least have ballpark numbers. But the start of the season, City, I'm guessing, are going to be a 1.2 shot in this spot, maybe 1.25, 1.3. They're out to 1.55. How hard is it for the market to catch up on Manchester City this season versus, say, over the last 4 or 5 seasons? And when do they not quite hit that balance right, and you can take advantage of some of these spots?
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty bang on. I've got the last the last Man City's home prices, the last 7 or 8 seasons they've played Crystal Palace here in front of me. 117, 120, 114, 119, 109, 117, 114. It's a huge difference. And
109. 109.
Yeah.
Did they win them all, or Palace have won there? Have they?
No, Palace have turned them over a couple of times at the Etihad, haven't they? Roy Hodgson era. But it's a really interesting question, actually, because if you plug in the underlying metrics this season, just look at expected goals, which we know drives a lot of the markets. City don't deserve to be 155-ish at home to Palace this weekend. They should be a lot bigger, which is quite surprising, really, which shows that the market isn't really sure how or where to place them, because, as Adrian says, this team has the ability to go out and win this game quite comfortably. We know that. We've seen it sparingly, but not often enough, not consistently enough to support them in those kind of markets, or even to sort of hit them at 155. They were god awful last week in that derby, weren't they? They've had a full week to sort of stew over and attempt to produce something better. They have been at their best at the Etihad. The majority of their worst efforts have come away from home, but that's not to say they shouldn't be. They should be feared here by Crystal Palace. They're actually 5th on home expected points this season, and whilst they've won the XG battle 10 times in 15 at the Etihad, ordinarily that should be 14 from 15 compared to the previous Pep Guardiola sides of Man City. They're 2nd in terms of home expected goals generated. Very good, very strong, shows they're creating opportunities. Only Villa have created more big chances at home than Man City as well, but they're missing Haaland right now, and their issues are predominantly defensively, and they have been throughout the campaign. So they're conceding the 10th most big chances at home, exclude penalties, and 7 sides have faced a lower XG than Man City as well. So they're the sort of rankings and ratings we don't really expect from Man City, and that's why they're sort of struggling at the minutes, which we all know. But yeah, as I said, the data sort of suggests that there's a case for them being at a bigger price here. Crystal Palace being potentially undervalued slightly. They're going great guns in the league at the minute. They've got an FA Cup semi-final to look forward to, fully motivated to impress because they want to be involved on that big occasion at Wembley too. So, in late November, Palace had won one league game. They were 19th in the Premier League. There were questions about Oliver Glasner's future, their ability to stay in this league after selling Michael Olise. But then since drawing at home to Newcastle on the final day of November, they sit fourth in the Premier League table, having played one game less than the teams around them. Were they to win that game in hand, only Liverpool would have won more points in that sample. So they've just completed a first top-flight league double over Brighton. They've lost 5 times in 28 across all comps. They've won 11 of their past 14. They're 6th in the away league table. As Adrian says, lost just 3 times on their travels all season. They're also 6th in the away expected points table too. So, we've referenced previously their recent sort of underlying data improvements since the start of the season. Really, they're 2nd in XP over the last 8 and 12 game splits, 4th over the last 16 league games, and that just commands a huge amount of respect for me at least. And they only lost by multiple goals 3 times all season. All of those came at Selhurst Park, and if you exclude the bottom 5, Man City have only won by a margin of 2 goals or more 4 times this season in the Premier League. So the price has moved a little bit since I put my notes together this morning on Wednesday. You can now get Crystal Palace with a +1.25 start at 1.8 on the Matchbook betting exchange, which I think is a great position to be in. We'll get paid out if Palace win, draw, and if they lose by exactly 1 goal, we'll still make a half stakes profit. We only lose our stake if City win by 2 goals or more, and I think that's a solid position to be in. And if Palace do score, City require 3 or more for this bet to lose. And as Adrian says, they've only failed to score twice away from home all season, and City have conceded in 11 of 13 home games when you exclude the bottom 2, who, as we know, are absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we'll I think I like Mark's case for the Palace on the Asian handicap line, notwithstanding Adrian perhaps being a bit cautious there, but Palace plus 1/4 of a goal you can get at 1.8. So if you aren't playing with Asian handicap lines before, that's half your bet on Crystal Palace plus 1 goal and half your bet on Crystal Palace plus 1.5 goal. There are videos available on the Match for YouTube channel explaining the Asian handicap markets as well. Let's move on to Wolves versus Spurs. We'll start with Mark once we take a look at the betting. We currently have a matchbook.com similar theme to Manchester United's game here potentially. Wolves 238 now on Matchbook with Spurs 3.2 and the draw available at 3.7. Both teams to score will be in and around the 1.65 mark. The Asian handicap line sees Spurs get a 1/4 goal head start at 189. The total for this game stands at 2.5. So yeah, Mark, again, is this just a good spot to be taken on Tottenham?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a theme of the show for me, at least, opposing teams in European competition this midweek. But yeah, big respect for Vitor Pereira and what he's achieved at Wolves, actually, because it's been quite remarkable, the turnaround there. I was quite dubious about that appointment. He's a journeyman coach with quite an erratic track record in coaching, quite a combustible character too, and he's engineered a really impressive turnaround to keep Wolves in the Premier League for, again, another season. That come from behind win against Ipswich last week, their 3rd straight win, 3rd straight away win as well. And they did it in pretty impressive fashion too. They were the dominant force against the side who are sort of closest to them in the league table. So, and they've done the majority of this recent resurgence without Mateus Cunha, who I felt would be a real substantial absence during his suspension. I think he's back this weekend, actually, so I wonder whether he will get back into the team because they've been faring so well. They look so much more solid than they were under Gary O'Neill. The 3-4-3 formation suits them so much better. They're creating chances, but they're also getting more out of their players from the bench too. And as I say, I thought they were really superior to Ipswich last Saturday and sort of highlighting the gap between the bottom 3 and the promoted clubs and the rest, really. And Wolves are really now starting to set their sights a little bit higher. They're 3 points off West Ham and Everton, 5 off Spurs coming into this match too. And yeah, I just can't imagine Tottenham are going full on at this match, considering it falls between the 2 hugely important Europa League quarter-final ties against Eintracht Frankfurt. That's Tottenham's season. That's potentially Ange Postecoglou's future too. This match probably isn't, unless they get an absolute hiding, which is probably unlikely, but I'm happy to oppose them. Spurs played better than they have in recent weeks or months when beating Southampton, but the opposition are Southampton, so you can't really read too much into that. And yeah, I'm just happy to oppose them here. This isn't the priority. They've already lost 9 of 15 away league games this season. It's 9 in 12 when you exclude that bottom 3. Again, exclude the bottom 3, 6 league losses and 7 on their travels. exclude the bottom three again, but the underlying metrics have Spurs winning the XG battle just twice in 12 away days. Curiously, both of those came at the Manchester clubs, but just 2 clubs outside the bottom 3 are allowing a higher non-penalty expected goals figure away from home. Only 1 club's faced more big chances than Spurs in that sample. So, and for a side you expect to be proactive, to be front foot, to be quite goal heavy, Spurs just haven't been that as well. 15 goals scored in those 12 away games when you take out that bottom 3, which I found quite surprising, really. They failed to score in 5 of those fixtures as well. I think there's more than enough ammunition to get Wolves on side because of the scheduling, because of Tottenham's away record throughout the campaign. There is a safer selection to back Wolves -1/4, which is odds against 2.02, but that will sort of protect a little bit against the draw. But I'm just happy to hit them on the nose, actually. 2.38 on the home win is fine for me.
Okay, yeah, quite confident selections this weekend, I would say, so far. Adrian, for you, Wolves winning both teams to score. Gets that price up now at the moment around 4.1 on Matchbook.
Oof. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was more like 365 when I looked. So yeah, 4.1.
Even bigger.
Yeah, definitely picking this then. Yeah, look, for all the reasons that Mark outlined, I think the European factor is massive. Obviously, Wolves are just playing better. Full stop. 3 wins in a row. I think the nature of their comeback win at Ipswich will have given them such a lift as well. And look, against bottom half teams, and Spurs are very much bottom half. It's 3 wins, 2 draws, and 1 defeat at Molineux for Wolves this season, and that's predating Pereira as well. So, these are the matches they tend to do okay in. They've got quite a good recent record against Tottenham as well. Unbeaten in 4, scored 2 goals in all of the last 3 meetings with Spurs as well. So, which is the Postecoglou era. So every time Postecoglou's faced Wolves, they've let into. And I can see that happening again here. Wolves are joint second in the 8-game form table. So, they've got to be respected here. But only 4 clean sheets at home in 15 matches. And Spurs, let's face it, as bad as they can be, they will create. I know that they were a bit poor going forward against Chelsea and Fulham, but they can create. They've got goal scorers. They've got speed in attack. They do still have the 5th best expected goals tally in the Premier League. The interesting thing is, if you exclude the bottom 3, who are all going down, Spurs have the worst expected goals against tally in the division. So that's a massive concern. And if I'm Daniel Levy, that's kind of a deal breaker for me. I think they will have to make the change. It will be interesting to see what they do with Cunha, because obviously he is available, but he said he wants to leave. So, and do they really need him? In the position that they are, I don't think so. So it might be a more popular decision with the fan base if he's left out. Sarabia, I'd imagine, will come in after his excellent performance the other day. So yeah, I want Wolves. I want both teams to score for all the reasons I've outlined. 65% of Wolves games sees both teams to score land. 58% of Spurs games sees it come in as well. Yeah, I think this would be quite entertaining, but Wolves to win it.
Okay, that's Wolves and both teams to score around the 4.1 mark, but we'll lock in the safer play with Mark. Wolves win on the nose, 2.4 at time of recording, and head to Mark for Lazio versus Roma once we take a quick look at the prices that we currently have on matchbook.com. Lazio are 2.84, Roma 2.8, slight favs. The draw 9-4 or 3.25. The Asian handicap line is effectively drawn no bet market with Roma slight favs at 1.92, and the 2.5 is the goal line. Both teams to score yes in and around the 1.8 mark. So yeah, Mark, set up this game for the listeners, what it means to the locals, and how big a game it actually is for the season as well.
Yeah, it's always a fabulous occasion, the Rome derby. Plenty of colour, plenty of noise, and yeah, Sunday night's match means a lot, as always with Rome derbies, but possibly more because of the position of these 2 teams coming into the sort of final furlong of the season. So England have got the 5th Champions League spot. It looks like Spain will probably take the 2nd, 5th spot, which they're in a battle with Italy, but Italy have to have a lot of things go their way from the quarterfinals onwards to grab that. So it looks like top 4 will be Champions League as usual. Now, Atalanta faced Bologna earlier on Sunday. That's 3rd versus 4th. This is 6th versus 7th, and Lazio are 2 points off Bologna ahead of the weekend. Roma are just 4 points adrift as well. So a win for either of these two teams will put them right in position for the top 4 finish. So yeah, it could be a really significant Sunday in Italy. But I want to be with Roma actually. In some way, form. That was my thought process coming into this match. Now, this fixture does tend to suit Lazio as the sort of designated home side. They're unbeaten in 9 home fixtures, home in sort of inverted commas, against Roma, and they've kept clean sheets in 7 of those 9 games as well. They're also off a really much needed win at Atalanta last week, 1-0, quite a surprise, their first win in 5 as well. But on Thursday night, they're involved in Europa League action as well, but they have to travel to Bodo Glimt in Norway, which is inside the Arctic Circle, so a decent trek for Lazio, a decent away day, an important match too. They'll see that as an opportunity to secure trophy and European Champions League qualification, of course, as well. Roma have a free midweek and come into this match with only 4 defeats in 26 across all comps since early December. It's been an unbelievable turnaround under Claudio Ranieri. I kind of stuck up my nose at his appointment originally. It felt quite lazy. It felt like the ownership were just trying to appease supporters by bringing in a local guy, but he's proven everyone wrong, really, by what he's achieving. They were very close to the drop zone when he arrived. Now they're very much in the battle for top 4. Only Inter have won more Serie A points since his arrival. No one's got a better defence than Roma in that same sample as well. And only twice since December have Roma conceded multiple goals. And if they repeat that feat, I think on Sunday, they'll be difficult to beat, because Lazio have only kept 2 home clean sheets all season. And in the last 6 weeks, they've lost a bit of attacking sparkle as well. Scored just 5 goals in the last 6 games. They've only twice won at home to teams in 11th and above as well. So I think there's a lot of evidence here suggesting Roma can get something out of this game. So I did look at the handicap plus 0, the draw no bet option for Roma, but we can get the draw on side by backing Roma double chance and under 3.5 goals at 1.9. It's not normally a high scoring fixture, this. The last 7 have gone under. 9 of the last 12 have gone under as well. 9 of the past 12 have also seen both teams to score no bank. 8 of Lazio's last 9 have gone under 3.5. 13 of Roma's past 17 have gone under 3.5. So you've got 0-0, 1-1, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 2-1 for Roma, and don't be too surprised if there's a red card or 2 either, but there's no prices at the time of recording.
Okay, I might throw a little note on Matchbook Insights to keep an eye on the card markets on the Bet Builder product on matchbookinsights.matchbook.com. That is. Any other bets time? And Adrian, you've 2 selections starting with Burnley and under 3.5 goals versus Norwich.
Yes. So Burnley are 1.59 to win the game. Big game. I think they're in second, as we say. It keeps changing every day. I think, yeah, they're in the top 2. So they're in pole position. Still got this extraordinary record of, only conceding, I think, 11 goals all season or 12. Crazy, so many clean sheets, just phenomenal in terms of keeping opponents at bay. You can get a jump from 1.59 on Burnley to win to 2.2 if you pair it with under 3.5 goals. Now, with Burnley's clean sheet record, that is quite a strong likelihood. The vast majority of Burnley matches this season, they've scored 1 goal or 2 goals. They've actually not scored 3 in a game all season, which I find quite bizarre. They've only gone over 3, I think 4 or 5 times. Yeah, 5 times in 41 games. The likelihood of it getting out of hand is quite slim. I would suggest this is a Norwich team that drew 0-0 with Sunderland last time out. Burnley drew 0-0 with Derby as well. Both those games were last night as we speak on Tuesday. Norwich have blanked in 7 away games this season, including trips to Leeds and Sheffield United. So this is the kind of game where Norwich will struggle to create and struggle to score. You could go Burnley to win with a clean sheet and get a slightly bigger price, but I didn't feel that the difference was sufficient enough for me to risk it with them scoring 1 goal. And we still get, obviously, the 2-1er, which I think is really important. So, yeah, if you go Burnley and under 3.5, you've got 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and 2-1 on our side. It's a big game. It'll be tense, but Burnley should absolutely not lose, and I think that they will probably nick a narrow victory here. They have not conceded more than 1 goal, Burnley, in a match all season, which is just nuts. 41 championship games. It's either 0 or 1 that they let in. So it's, they are such a tough nut to crack. So that's why under 3.5 goals really does appeal here, because, Burnley can any number of scorelines can come in here for Burnley, and we're still within the limit. So yeah, 2.2 on that.
Okay, second selection comes from League One, Wigan versus Wrexham, under 2.5 goals, and both teams have scored now, combining the two on Matchbook's bet book.
Yeah, another big game. Wrexham have got a 3-point lead over Wycombe, so Birmingham are already promoted. Wrexham are in pole position for second, but it's definitely not sorted yet, because Wycombe won last night. So yeah, this is a huge game, and it's not an easy game because Wigan have got a new manager, Ryan Lowe. Did really well, I think, to get him on board. They don't score very many goals, Wigan, but they don't concede very many either. They are a real tough nut to crack. There's some interesting stats. Wigan matches average 1.85 goals a game this season, lowest in the League One. Wrexham matches average 2.2, which is the third lowest. So these two teams are involved in a lot of low-scoring games. I think it'll be tense because there's so much on it for Wrexham. Wrexham are clean sheet kings, really. No one's had more in League One. 51% success rate of clean sheets. Both teams to score no has landed in 59% of games as well. So you look at Wigan, loads and loads of times, both teams to score no lands, 25 of 40. Lots of clean sheets. And then just looking at more recent form, 8 of 9 Wrexham games recently have finished with both teams to score no coming in, and 6 of the last 7 Wigan games have gone under 2.5 goals. So yeah, I'm just sort of packaging it all together, really. Just going 0-0, 1-0, or 2-0 either way. So under 2.5, both teams to score no, 185. I don't think this is going to be a thriller.
Yeah, we've had that's the theme this last couple of weeks, and previewing games that aren't going to be great, and the opposite of what we should really be trying to do. Mark, you've 2 selections, and your any other bets, 1 domestic and 1 from Europe.
Yeah, in League Two, Walsall have finally lost the lead at the top of the table. It's been coming, but the market hasn't really adjusted to their recent regression. They've been clinging on really since January. Things have started to unravel. As soon as on loan Stoke striker Nathan Lowe departed, he scored 15 goals before his loan was ended, and his departure kind of coincided with the demise. Really, Walsall topped the table from match day 19 up until last weekend when they were beaten at home to Port Vale. They've dropped down to third. It's remarkable, really. They were top for so long because they've only won twice in 16 games since mid-January. It's also just 1 win in 8 away from home, going back to New Year's Day. Yet they're still around about 230 to win away at Barrow this weekend. It's just too short and has to be opposed. So on paper, it looks like Barrow have nothing left to play for. But they are finishing with a bit of a flourish, actually. Andy Wing came in there in late January after doing a really good job with Solihull Moors. He's getting a tune out of this team. Now they've won 7, drawn 3, and lost 6 under his tutorship, which doesn't sound really formidable. But more recently, it's 1 defeat in 8, 4 wins in that sample as well, and against some really good opposition as well. They won away at Notts County, held Wimbledon away, won at Port Vale, held Salford at home as well. So they're showing they can match up pretty well against the better sides in this division. So they do look like quite lively underdogs here. And interestingly too, in the 8-game recent form table, they're up in 6th in terms of expected points, which is really commendable considering the opposition. So that's higher than Walsall in the last 8 games. And if we look at the last 12 and 16 game samples, Barrow and Walsall are pretty much neck and neck in terms of the underlying metrics. So to have Walsall at 2.3 doesn't sit right with me at all. They're basically being priced up on their season-long data rather than the records and ratings since January onwards, where they have actually started to drop away. So we've seen they aren't the same side over the last 3 months, and I think they're worth opposing. So Barrow plus a quarter at 1.8, which means we'll make money as long as they avoid defeat.
Okay, and second selection comes in the Eredivisie.
Yeah, Ajax are on their way to an Eredivisie title, which is incredible, really, considering the shambles they were last season and beyond. Francesco Farioli has worked wonders, really. to sort of turn them overnight into league champions again. Pretty much did a sterling job at Nice, and now he's doing it with Ajax. They're not the sort of total football team of previous generations. They're actually pretty dull. They're just effective, and they've now won 12 of their last 13 league games, conceding just 5 goals. They've done the double over PSV and Feyenoord this season, winning both away days without conceding goals as well. And I want to back a repeat basically here. Ajax to win and both teams to score no, which is 2.38 when they go to Willem II on Sunday, I think this game is. They've won 10 of their 13, most recent 13 away days, conceding just 9 goals, keeping clean sheets in 8 of those. They're averaging just 0.64 expected goals per game against in those last 13. Only PSV have managed an XG value of 1.0 or more. In that sample, 6 of the 13 sides failed to even generate a big chance against Ajax. 10 of the 13 managed no more than 1 big chance against them. And if you look at their record against the lesser lights, 8 wins from 9 against teams in 8th and below. 6 of those wins came alongside clean sheets. And Willem II, their third bottom, they rank bottom for almost all major metrics. They've lost 9 of 11 winless games since Christmas and have lost to 0 in 3 of their 5 games hosting the top 6 already. And if you exclude the bottom 6, Willem II have scored just 8 goals in 11 home games, returned 8 defeats, 2 draws and 1 win. They're averaging 0.81 non-penalty expected goals at home across the campaign, which is the worst by distance, taking the fewest shots, the fewest big chances, etc. and so on. So, happy to be with Ajax, but the way to play it is to back them to win to 0 or beat it yes, no, 2.38.
Okay, and both those bets and all the bets available on insidestopmatchbook.com. Long shots time. And Adrian, this isn't a misprint. I mean, the title may effectively be over, but this Liverpool team not doing a few at the moment.
Yeah, I just thought I'd have a bit of fun with it. It's a big old long shot. It's a big old long shot. Liverpool to get beat by West Ham United, 10.5. I can hear you laughing. Look, Liverpool aren't in good form, are they? The Fulham deserve to beat them the other day. Mo Salah's way off colour. The defenders making mistakes. They're just out of sorts, aren't they? And obviously they're in a weird place because they know they've won the league, really. But yeah, but they're not feeling good about themselves at the moment. There are 1 or 2 little doubts in there, I think, in their play. So it's a good time maybe for West Ham to have a crack at it. The reason I've gone for this is Potter based, really, and you wouldn't have said this when they were getting beat off Brentford the other day, but I think even though he's not setting the world alight, Potter does know how to organise a team. He can produce upsets. He's done it throughout his career. And maybe I'm clouded because I've sat through a few of them when he's beaten Arsenal, including not so long ago at Emirates Stadium, where they won 1-0 and they were good value for that 1-0 win. Defended superbly as a team, and they've got great threat on the counter, haven't they? With Bowen and Kudus and Wan-Bissaka flying down the wing. Obviously, you've got Füllkrug in the mix now that he's fit and available. So they've got good quality up front. I just think he's solidified them. They've conceded twice in 3 away games. The last 3 away games: Arsenal, Everton, and Wolves. 1 with a clean sheet at Emirates, of course. 1 with a clean sheet at Newcastle earlier on in the season, pre-Potter. So they can do it. Look, they conceded 5 both times they've played Liverpool this season. So it's a bit of a stretch. It'll be quite some story. But in 5 of the last 6 games, the expected goals against has been very respectable, under 1.4. And actually, if you look at the shots they're facing, it's going down all of the time. 16.7 shots per game they were facing in the first 26 matches of the season. The last 5 games, that 16.7 has dropped to 10.4. So they are better without the ball than they were, and you need to be good without the ball to stand any chance at Anfield. I just think when you consider that and the players they've got in attack and Liverpool's form, it's a bit of fun. I think 10.5 is. I don't think it's as outrageous as some people will no doubt feel it is.
Okay, yeah. Ners, will get Mark's thoughts on that and lead into your best long shot of the week, Mark. 10.5 West Ham at Anfield.
No
It's
chances.
a reasonable case. I just laugh because Adrian says if we're having a bit of fun. So end of the season, party's begun. I'd love to see West Ham winning there. Whether they will or not, I'm not sure. Every time I want to be with them and feel there is improvements being made, they throw it back in my face.
Go
But
back, yeah.
I think they've been pretty dull for the most part under Potter, which is I'd like to see a bit more from them in forward areas. But yeah, I'm going north of the border to follow that theme of opposing teams who are prioritising European commitments, and Rangers definitely fall into that category. Home and away games against Athletic Bilbao in the Europa League are top of their to-do list. A trip to Pitodry at midday on Sunday is definitely second on that list. They're not going to win the title. They're 13 points shy of Celtic. So all eggs are in the European basket. And Aberdeen don't normally need a second invitation to put one over Rangers. They've beaten them at Pitodry already this season in the Scottish Premiership. They've lost just once in the last 5 home league games against Rangers. They've actually won 2 of the last 3 renewals now against them as well. So yeah, I'm quite keen to support them again. It's about 3-1 on Aberdeen to win. They're involved in a really good battle with Hibs for third place at the minute. And yeah, they found form again after going through a horrendous couple of months. Whereas Rangers, they're just incredibly erratic under Barry Ferguson. Brilliant to sort of see off Fenerbahce in the Europa League. Won away at Celtic, of course, as well, but utterly dreadful at home to Hibs last weekend in defeat. Very, very fortunate to turn around a 3-1 deficit late on away at Dundee in the last away league game as well. Dundee second bottom and conceding shed loads of goals, but almost lost that match too. So I just feel Rangers are a side that almost needs complete buy-in from all the players to be at their best. I just don't think they'll get that this weekend. I don't think there's a reason to be all in away at Aberdeen when you're sort of sandwiched between 2 quarter-final ties against Athletic Bilbao, which will drain the legs. That's the kind of team Athletic are. Yeah, happy to oppose them, and about 3-1 on the home win is decent enough.
Okay, Mark, taking on a lot of European teams, you kind of teams in European action, you can of course do multiples on the matchup betting exchange if you do want to do a fun tricksy, maybe with Aberdeen, Newcastle, and I've forgotten the other team we're taking on, Spurs. So Wolves in a little fun tricksy for Mark. Adrian, best bet time, Brighton, pro Brighton here.
Yeah, well, anti-Leicester.
I set you up again.
I mean, goodness me.
I set it up. You keep tapping it in, Adrian.
I mean, come on. I mean, this Leicester team are so bad. Yeah, the body language of the players is as bad as I've seen from any Premier League team, really. She's not trying very hard, are they? It's kind of as simple as that. You see the confidence is gone. They're giving the ball away all of the time in some pretty bad areas. But the alarming thing for Van Nistelrooy and for all concerned, and the reason why the fans have really turned on this team, they hate this team. They want most of them gone for next season, is because the effort levels aren't there. The application, there's not enough desire to stop goals. There's a little bit of finger pointing going on. Just look at that one the other day where Murphy gets onto the rebound from the crossbar, and not a single Leicester player really responds or reacts, and he just has himself a tap in. It's symptomatic of what they are at the moment. So yeah, look, they go to Brighton, and Brighton have lost 2 on the spin, and Hertzler is a spiky little so-and-so, isn't he? And he will demand a reaction. There's still plenty to play for Brighton, and I think they'll be pumped up here. And if Brighton get their pressing game right, they could give Leicester absolute nightmares, in my opinion, because Leicester can't pass it at the moment. They're under pressure. They will make a lot of mistakes, and I think that Brighton are one of the best pressing teams around. So yeah, I like Brighton here. Obviously, they're too short to back on their own, but if you go pair it with over 2.5 goals, you can get 179. And I think that's a good bet. That's a good bet because I think Leicester will almost certainly concede 2 or more goals in the game. I think there have been at least 3 goals in each of the last 8 Brighton games. So they've been scoring goals, they've been conceding goals. Brighton lead the way in the over 2.5 market this season. 71% of their matches have had 3 or more goals. Leicester, 65% of their matches, so pretty high as well. Both teams average over 3 goals per game. So yeah, I think this has got 3-0, 4-0, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, whatever you like. Potentially written all over it. I think Brighton should slay Leicester City. 1.79.
Okay, expect goals, but Brighton to get out on top, 179, combining their win with over 2.5 goals. And Mark, final word to you. We had the battle for Europe in Serie at the start of this podcast, but you're now looking in the mid-table range here for both teams to score angle.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nothing to play for derby, but yeah, Como versus Torino. I want to be with both teams to score. It's getting about 195 on that at the moment, which I think is a lovely price. Serie A is only averaging 2.6 goals per game this season, but 53% of those matches have seen both sides score. And if we turn that hit rate into an implied price, you'd get around 189 for both teams to score. So just a little guide there, but I think again straight away we can see there's a bit of wriggle room there to be with BTTS in this match. But these two teams are two of the best contributors to that particular market across the season so far. So Como have established themselves pretty well in the league since promotion. They're well clear of safety, of danger. Like Torino mid-table, can afford to play without a huge amount of pressure in the final few weeks. They've been pretty decent going forward for the most part this season, actually. They've actually scored in 16 of the last 18 league games, and they've only failed to do so at Bologna and Inter, top 4 teams. So they've been going great guns in that regard, but at home they've only failed to score once in 15 since promotion. The issue they've had throughout the campaign is defence, because they've managed only 3 clean sheets, home or away, all season. So 13 of their 15 home fixtures have paid out for both teams to score backers. 11 of their past 14 across all venues have also paid out for BTTS. Now they're hosting Torino, who have scored in 13 of the last 14. BTTS in 10 of those. They've also scored in 13 of 16 away, 10 of which have hit for BTTS. But if you exclude the bottom 3, it's 10 from 13 winners for BTTS away from home when Torino are involved. So statistically, this is a pretty strong play. But I think the added element of neither team having any major pressure on their shoulders should also aid that angle of attack as well. So almost evens on BTTS. And I think there's loads of data, loads of reasons to suggest it should be shorter.
Okay, that's best bet for Mark. Both teams to score. There, insights.matchbook.com. As I mentioned, full recap of all the guys' picks, and we'll be back to preview the second legs of the Champions League quarterfinals with Arsenal heading to the Bernabeu with a 3-goal lead. Will it be enough? We will find out next Wednesday, but do join us for Monday morning for that recording there. Enjoy the weekend's football. We'll chat to you on Monday. Bye-bye.